All right, so we're diving into the world of Pieter-Jan Kindermans. You're really into AI these days and how we can trust these systems more. And, well, that's exactly what Kindermans is doing.
Yeah, definitely. He's like a pioneer in making AI more transparent.
Right.
But he's not just, building more AI. He's really trying to figure out how to understand it and kind of open up that black box and really see what's going on inside.
Yeah, and I think you'll appreciate this. His background is in computational sciences and engineering, and you can really see that reflected in how he approaches this whole AI thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, he didn't just jump into building the next big algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
He really focused on the core principles, first things like statistical learning theory and how to make these models understandable even from the very beginning.
Yeah, right from the start, he was asking those tough questions like, how do these machines learn and how can we be sure that we can understand their decisions, especially as they get, more and more complex. Like, it's one thing if AI is, suggesting a new song on Spotify, but when it's making decisions in like healthcare or finance,
then it's...
that understanding becomes like super critical.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really curious about this gradient-based attribution thing.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like that's one of his, key contributions to really opening up that black box. So how does that actually work in practice?
It's a really brilliant approach. Imagine, you're trying to figure out which ingredient in some dish is giving it that like unique flavor. You might try tasting it with and without each ingredient, just to see what makes the biggest difference. Well, gradient-based attribution is kind of like that for AI. It lets us see which parts of the input data are really influencing the model's final decision, like pixels in an image or words in text.
So if an AI is looking at a picture and says, that's a cat, we can actually see what the model is focusing on.
Exactly.
Like the ears or the tail or the way it's sitting.
You can actually visualize what the AI is seeing, so to speak. Oh. It's pretty cool, and I think that's huge. It takes AI from this mysterious entity to something that we can actually dissect and understand.
Yeah, like we can actually start to break it down.
And one of the areas where this has been incredibly valuable is in understanding and defending against what we call adversarial examples.
Ah, yes, the AI tricksters.
Right, exactly.
So tell me more about that and how Kindermans is involved in that.
Okay, so think about those images you might have seen where a tiny change, almost invisible to the human eye, completely fools an AI.
I've seen those.
Yeah, well, that's an example of an adversarial example.
Wow.
Someone figured out how to exploit the model's weaknesses.
So it's like those stickers that they put on stop signs to trick self-driving cars.
Yeah, exactly like that.
That's a little unnerving.
It is, but Kindermans has been at the forefront of this research, trying to figure out how to make models more robust to these attacks, and he's developed techniques like adversarial training, which is basically where you expose the AI to these adversarial examples during the learning process so that it becomes, less susceptible to them later on.
So you're kind of like giving it an immune system almost.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And it's super important, because as these AI systems become more integrated into our lives, we need to know that they can stand up to these kinds of attacks.
For sure. For sure. Well, he's done a lot of work on this.
He has, and making AI robust isn't the only thing he's focused on. He's also been looking at how to make the insights from these gradient methods even richer and more accurate.
This is where integrated gradients come in.
Yes.
I've seen that term pop up in his work. What makes that method so special?
Yeah, it's like, how when you upgrade from standard definition TV to like 4K ultra high def TV, it's kind of like the picture becomes way sharper and you see a lot more detail. Well-integrated gradients help us see those subtle, nuances in how the AI is interpreting that data, which is really important if we want to trust it and understand its limitations.
So it's not just identifying what's important, but also understanding how much each factor is contributing to that final decision. It's about getting that more nuanced view.
Exactly. Yeah. And, Kindermans didn't just stop there.
Of course not.
He also realized that, these methods, they need to work for all sorts of data, not just images.
Right.
So he's been super instrumental in generalizing these methods to work for things like language processing, time series, data, all sorts of things. It's really expanded the toolbox we have to understand AI across a huge range of applications.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool because it's showing how much potential there is to really make AI more understandable.
Definitely.
But I'm curious, how is all this being used in real-world scenarios?
Oh, yeah.
Are there specific examples where his methods are actually making a difference?
Absolutely. One area is in medical diagnoses.
Oh, wow.
So imagine like an AI system that analyzes, medical scans trying to detect like early signs of disease.
Yeah.
That's really powerful, but doctors need to understand, why the AI is flagging something.
Yeah, they can't just get like a yes or no. They really need to.
Exactly. They need that reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
So using Kindermans techniques, we can actually highlight the specific areas of a scan that the AI is focusing on, and then the doctors can cross-reference that with their own expertise and ultimately make a much more informed decision.
It's really cool, that collaboration between human and artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it is.
That's a great example. So what about other fields?
Yeah.
Like finance or security?
Oh, yeah. Definitely in finance, we're starting to see his methods used to understand the decisions made by these like algorithmic trading systems.
Right.
They make trades, crazy fast.
Oh, yeah.
And it's super important to be able to trace back why a trade was made, for risk management, regulatory compliance.
So it's not just about making money. It's about making sure those decisions are transparent and accountable.
Yeah, exactly. And then even in cybersecurity, we're seeing his techniques used to analyze the behavior of malware or intrusion detection systems.
Oh, wow.
So by understanding what triggers an alert or, how malware is spreading, we can build much better defenses.
It sounds like his work has really impacted so many different areas where we're using and developing AI.
It really has, and it's remarkable because he's not just focused on the technical side. He's been a vocal advocate for responsible AI development, really emphasizing that we need transparency and ethical considerations.
Yeah, it's not just about making powerful AI, but AI that we can trust and that aligns with our values.
Exactly.
And I know you've worked with him personally, so what's he like?
He's incredibly passionate about his work and about making sure that AI really benefits humanity. He's also like super collaborative, really generous with his knowledge, always willing to help others understand these really complex ideas.
And I've also heard that he's a pretty fun guy, too.
Oh, yeah, he's a character.
Do you have any fun stories about him?
Well, one time at a conference, he was giving this talk about adversarial examples, and he had this look in his eye, like he was up to something. And the way he explained how these like tiny changes could completely, throw off an AI. He there, the whole audience laughing.
That's great.
But also like really on the edge of their seats.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
He seems like someone who really enjoys, pushing those boundaries of AI and figuring out how to make it work better.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, as we start to wrap up our deep dive here, what do you think are the most important things he's teaching us about the future of AI?
It feels like we really only touched on some of the big points.
Yeah.
But I think the main takeaway here is that Kindermans is really showing us that AI doesn't have to be this like total mystery.
Right.
We can develop tools and techniques to understand how they're making these decisions and ultimately build more trust in them.
Yeah. And that trust is going to be super important, as AI becomes a bigger part of our lives, whether it's helping with medical diagnoses or, managing our finances, even driving our cars.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Understanding how it works is going to be really key for people to really accept it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just about the tech itself,
Yeah.
It's the bigger picture. Like, what does this mean for us as a society?
Yeah. How do we make sure that it's actually benefiting humanity? Not just making things more efficient or productive.
Yeah, definitely.
But also, making sure that it's ethical and aligns with our values.
Absolutely. And that's where I think Kinderman's emphasis on this interpretability and transparency comes in.
Right.
When we can understand how AI is working, we can spot those potential biases.
Yeah.
Address those ethical concerns, and ultimately make sure that these systems are being used responsibly.
It's like he's giving us a flashlight to look inside AI so we can start having those tough conversations about, how we should be developing it and how we should be using it.
I like that, yeah.
It's not just about building AI that's smarter. It's about building AI that aligns with our values and how we see the future.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, he's not just coming up with these algorithms. He's shaping the whole conversation around AI, encouraging us to think about the implications and our role in shaping its development.
So for our listener who's obviously, interested in all of this, what would you say is the most important thing for them to keep in mind as AI keeps advancing so quickly?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the future of AI isn't set in stone.
Yeah.
It's something that we are actively shaping.
Right.
Through the choices we make, the questions we ask, the values that we decide are most important.
It's not just about the code itself, but the conversations we're having around it, the ethical frameworks we're putting in place,
right.
The shared vision that we have for how AI will impact the world.
Exactly. And I think Kinderman's work really shows us that we have the knowledge and the tools to guide AI development in a positive direction.
Yeah.
So it's really up to all of us to use them wisely.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the work of Pieter-Jan Kindermans. I hope this has been as insightful for you as it has been for me and to our listener. Keep asking those tough questions. Keep exploring this stuff and keep pushing for an AI future that benefits all of us.
Well said. It's been a pleasure.